Hello, everyone. It's SKFC back here with another video. Today, we are going to be talking about Arsenal Football Club. Currently, they are in second place in the league, 4 points behind Liverpool, have scored 7 less goals than them. And the talk of the town is that this team needs a striker. And their lack of striking force has something to do with why they're not ahead of the Reds of Merseyside. Because, coming into the season, Arsenal would have been thought to be the next man up if anything happened to City this season. And obviously, we know about City's struggles. So Arsenal, being this behind on Liverpool, who were not even thought to be in a title race this season, has many people wondering about why that is. And again, like I said earlier, the most talked about thing is their lack of a goal scorer. So you can see here in the Premier League this season, their top goal scorer is Kai Havertz with 7 goals. And when you compare him to the rest of the league in terms of goals this season, I think he wouldn't even be in. Where would he be? He would not be in the top 10. He would be 20th. So Arsenal's highest goal scorer would be 20th in the league this season, behind the likes of Fulham goal scorers, Ipswich top goal scorer, even behind the likes of James Maddison. So we're going to be helping out our team from the Red team from London on some striker options to see what they can do to rectify this. I'm going to be giving out 5 striker options. I'm going to have one expensive option, which you're currently looking at right now, and then one that shouldn't be as expensive, or a couple that shouldn't be as expensive, and then a couple more that are just very under the radar, like project type signings, if you will. So, to cover pretty much every spectrum in terms of price. So obviously, the creme de la creme that Arsenal would want to get into their club if they can would be one Alexander Isak, who has been on fire this season, scoring 15 goals in the Premier League, along with 5 assists in just 19 matches. And the thing that really impresses me about Isak is not just his goal scoring, but his ability to dribble, even in tight spaces, which allows him to, pass the ball, which is part of the reason why he gets as many assists as he does. He's also incredibly tall, standing in over 190 centimeters, which I believe is 6'4", 6'3", 6'4". So he's obviously he obviously should be good in the air just from that alone. And when you combine that with his impressive goal scoring numbers and his technical ability, you do have quite the monster on your hands. Now, when you kind of compare him to who Arsenal use in Kai Havertz, the only thing that I guess wouldn't really translate is the lack of pressing and his surprisingly poor aerial duel numbers. Because Kai Havertz does do well in these areas. Part of that is because I know he plays at midfield at times as well. So obviously that wouldn't be the main attribute that you would want to use in scouting a striker, but I do think it was something to note as well. Now, I'm not going to spend too much time on him just because, this is a striker that everyone should know about already. And then the last thing that I want to bring up for Isak is not just that he scores goals, but the variety in his goals is really impressive too. He scores goals on the fast break. He scores goals from headers. He scores goals with his left foot. He scores goals with his right foot. So it's very varied. So you're not really just getting one type of goal scorer. He's not one-dimensional in that sense. So it's very impressive from the guy. And obviously, you already know Newcastle are going to stop at nothing to keep a hold of him. So you're looking at comfortably over 120-ish mil if Arsenal even want to think about having the discussion of getting him in. So he's very unrealistic as a striker option, but I at least did want to bring up one incredible striker. And now we're going to go kind of from the list down in terms of pricing. Next up, I have Tierno Berry, who currently plays for Villarreal. He sits at a staggering 6'5". He's currently 22 years old, and so far this season in La Liga, he scored 7 goals and had 2 assists in just over 13 starts. What's impressed me about him is the even though he's so tall, he still has a really lean and athletic physique. So he's still incredibly rapid. He's able to run the channel as well. He when he was at FC Basel, he was a high volume dribbler. Not so much in Villarreal. Another thing that I really like about him is his aerial dominance. The dude has literally won almost 60% over 60% of his aerial duels, which is genuinely mind-boggling, right? So, right, like I said, we already know Arsenal like to put in corners, to put in crosses. So you definitely know he's going to be getting on the end of those, and he still has like that ability to play into space, pin defenders back by running behind. And, even though his tackle numbers aren't up, he's still a really avid duel winner. So, he's still going to be able to work hard for the team as well. I believe that Villarreal got him from Basel for only about 14 million. So, they would probably be willing to sell for somewhere around 40 to 50 million. So, he's definitely like a cheaper option to take a punt on. I don't think while he's not as polished as Isak per se, he's definitely he's definitely more polished than some of the other strikers I'm going to list as an option here. So yeah, I really like him. The only real weakness to his game is that sometimes his shooting can be a little bit erratic, but his ball striking always leaves the shot, moving hard. Like basically whenever he shoots, like you can definitely tell he struck the shot with a lot of power. So if it's going towards goal, more than likely it's probably going to go in. And next up, we have Moise Kean, who is currently valued, according to Transfer Market, at 30 million. He currently plays for Fiorentina. He's currently 24 years old. He scored 11 goals in 19 matches for Fiorentina. He's played around 1,500 minutes. And honestly, the guy's probably the second most polished player after Isak that I'm going to give as a suggestion. And one of the things I wanted to note about him is that, even though I know obviously you look at his goal scoring numbers here and they don't really look too good, but 1,500 minutes is a decent amount of games. And the last time he actually played that many minutes in a league campaign was when he was at PSG. And even when he was at PSG and he played that many minutes, he got 13 goals, right? So this is a guy that definitely knows how to put the ball in the back of the net. And I want you to keep in mind, 1,500 minutes is the equivalent of about 16 matches. So he hasn't even played the equivalent of 16 matches in any of these seasons prior to this current revival season that he's having right now. And kind of just looking at him from a player standpoint, the thing that stands out to me is one, the fact that he's a volume dribbler, which is very rare to find in a striker. You could even see here he's in the 93 percentile in terms of dribbling. And even when, you watch him on the eye test, he's incredibly rapid. His first touch is really, really good. He also can strike the ball with a lot of venom as well, similar to Barry. But like I said, he's a little bit more polished, so he's a little more accurate in terms of when he shoots and his intention of shooting. He's also incredibly strong, so he's able to, put people off and shrug off opposition, and not let it bother him when he wants to shoot. So, those are kind of the main strengths to his game. In terms of weaknesses or things that you'd want to look out for this Arsenal team is he's not very willing of a presser. You can see here his tackle numbers are low, his duel numbers are low, his aerial duels numbers are low. So, it'd definitely be more of a, getting him to buy into how Arteta likes to have his players, press from the front. But, in terms of just, skill, like I said, after Isak, this is probably your best bet. And I believe Fiorentina got him from Juventus for about 13 million. And, he is currently valued at 30. So he would probably get you, honestly, you could probably get him for around that 40 to 50 mark, similar to Barry as well. And he's still, pretty young at 24. So I think he'd be a really solid option to look at if you're. Next up, we have this giant colossus of a man whose name goes by Lorenzo Luca. He currently plays for Udinese, and this is the first of the kind of more low-key project type of signings. So he's currently valued at 18 million euros, and he's currently aged 20. So Lorenzo Luca is, like I said, he's 6'7", which is about what 201 centimeters translates to, and he is a colossus. And right now he's currently scored 7 goals in about 15 starts, and he's actually played about 1,283 minutes for Udinese, and 1,283 minutes roughly translates to about 14 matches. So it's about a goal every 90 minutes. And one of the things that stands out to me, which should obviously make sense given his size, is the fact that out of the 7 goals he's had, 5 of them have come from headers. So obviously, Arsenal are, again, corners, high crossing team, guys 6'7", can score headers. So it should be a match made in heaven just off of that alone. Another thing that I really like about him is kind of his physicality. Even though he does have a bit of a skinny frame, so he can be, I wouldn't say bullied off the ball at times, but you can definitely tell that the gracefulness and kind of the agility and kind of center of gravity is a little bit poor, which obviously would make sense given how tall he is and how lanky he is. But he does have a really solid back to goal game, which I really like as well. So he would be able to play in other players and kind of just act as an outlet, say if Ryan needs to clear the ball or something like that or win a header. So those are kind of some of his strengths. And then another thing that I really like about him is how reliable he is aerially. The guy can win some aerial duels. I'm going to tell you that right now at a staggering. And one of the things that I do like about him as well is the fact that given how tall he is, again, he will fit right into what Arsenal want to do in terms of spamming crosses, spamming corners, and all that good stuff. The only thing that I really say for him is, one, to kind of improve in terms of his shooting technique, getting more goals on the ground, and then two, just bulking up somewhere so he can really kind of handle that physicality. But again, he's definitely more of a low-key type of striker, so I just wanted to put him here just to give some cheaper alternatives. Now, the last guy I'm going to be talking about is Sebastiano Esposito, and truth be told, I'm a bit higher on this guy than Luca in terms of the two low-key kind of strikers I was talking about. So the transfer market has him valued at only 7 mil. He's currently 22 years old, and he plays for Empoli in Serie A. So right now, currently, he has 7 goals in about 12 matches, and he's played a total of 1,096 minutes, which would translate to roughly about actually 12 matches. So what I like about him is, first off, he's probably the most stylistically similar striker to Havertz in terms of being able to perform kind of like that, dropping in deep and acting as kind of a connector to the other players. I know here his passes are low, but that just kind of comes to the territory of playing for a team that aren't going to be a heavy possession-based side, just like an Empoli, right? So, because he had played at Sampdoria last year in Serie B, and you could really see a lot of kind of its playmaking genes from his time at Sampdoria. What I also really like about him too is he also has that defensive work rate that Arteta will look for, completing over 1.3 tackles as well as over 7 duels. So, from that aspect, he is a hard worker in terms of defending from the front, although his aerial duels percentages aren't of the level of a Havertz in that sense, even though he is, I think he's like 6'1", so he's not exactly short in that regard. And then kind of some other things that I wouldn't say I like about him is he doesn't really have the pace to run the channels like a Moise Ken or even a Barry. He definitely prefers to play with the ball to feet, but he does, use that to his advantage due to his good vision and playmaking. The only thing I would say in that regard too is sometimes the weight of his passes can be a bit off, because the ball can't kind of like travels through the air. It kind of has like a weird droopy movement, so it's not as crisp as you like it to be. But obviously from a striker, that's not going to be the main thing that you look for. Like in terms of his shooting technique, I do like it. I do think he does a pretty good job of aiming the ball properly, and it's probably a little bit more consistent than say a Barry, even though Barry can just blast the ball at the goal. But I think he's valued very low. Even transfer market was only like 7 mil, and here it's like 5, so he would be a really, really cheap alternative. Probably the cheapest one on the list. So, but I from what I've seen of him, I really do like him. I'm very high on his potential. So, yeah, those are 5 strikers that Arsenal could look at in terms of who they could probably even sign in January. It'd probably be him if they offer a good enough, transfer deal, or even Barry as well. But yeah, that's kind of going to be my video for today. I know there were some more obvious strikers that we could have looked at, like like Victor Osimhen, who's currently playing at Galatasaray, but I kind of wanted to keep it a little bit more low key, because if I just gave you a bunch of good strikers, then what would be the point of this video? It would be really obvious, right? So but yeah, in terms of other strikers they could look at, you have your Osimhens, you have Jonathan Davids, Openda at Leipzig. I know there are links with Sesko, so there are definitely options out there, but I at least wanted to do something interesting, talk about some lesser known names that could be an option as well. So that's going to be my video for today. If you watch the entire thing, you are a GOAT. Please make sure you like the video, comment down below what you think, or comment down some other strikers that are lesser known that you think are really good. And most importantly of all, remember to have a good day.